Alright, yep. So the boy, oh, wrong screen. Sorry. The boy Patrick CC have a video that I think ain't gonna lie needs to be shared to everyone in the fucking world, bro. Not gonna lie. Bro, I love the Skate series. I grew up with it, bro. Like Skate 3, I played the fuck out that game on my Xbox 360, man. Like customizing Tyler, bro. Sad enough. But like they've been saying, shit about the skateboard for years. I have not heard shit about it. Like we've been waiting long enough, bro. Too long, bro. So hopefully our boy right here can help us, man. Come on, Patrick, bring us home. Let's do it.
After 15 long years of dreaming about the
15!
release of the fourth EA Skate game, we now have it, and it's another soulless, Fortnite-modeled microtransaction scam disguised as a video game. The EA Skate franchise entirely redefined what skateboarding games should feel like. Most fans look back on them as a near-perfect trilogy, so it was almost impossible to match expectations. But the developers of this game got away with a slimy tactic. They framed the rebirth of this game as a way to give back to the fans, and that they were going to use our feedback and requests as the main driver for what this game would look and feel like. But they were lying. Fans made very simple requests. We want a story mode, the ability to skate offline by yourself, Hall of Meat.
Yes.
Hell, at least can we play an actual game of Skate? No. Almost all of the basic requests were outright ignored because they were never actually building this game for the Skate community, they were taking advantage of the Skate community, using nostalgia and goodwill as bait to slowly roll out a glorified mobile game that is going to beg you to spend money on overpriced aesthetics. The developers stripped everything from this franchise that was great and turned it into just another soulless cash grab. And since they don't care about the legacy of Skate, this video is going to make you realize just how badly this iconic franchise has been dragged through the mud, and how it's also a grim reminder of where the entire gaming industry is headed. Because if your favorite game franchise hasn't been ruined yet, just wait. It'll happen soon. When the very first EA Skate was announced, their promise was to be a reflection of real skateboarding culture, that raw, gritty, and rebellious nature that was highly overlooked in the mainstream. The mainstream image of skateboarding was largely shaped by the explosive success of the X Games, which debuted in 1995 and saw massive viewership by the early 2000s, with millions tuning in to watch skaters like Tony Hawk, who cemented his legacy by landing the first ever 900 at the 99 X Games. Skateboarding was transformed from an underground artistic lifestyle into a polished global sport. And I'm not demonizing the X Games, I think it was an incredibly important facet to grow interest around the world. It was undeniably sick to watch Danny Way launch himself over the Great Wall of China, or Bob Burnquist dominate vert ramps.
Bob is kicking a freestyle right now.
But it's no secret that the corporate sponsors and TV-friendly presentation didn't represent the vast majority of skateboarders, who were skating in the streets, shredding handrails behind supermarkets, getting kicked out of parking garages, filming video parts on camcorders, and running from security guards. What added to the mainstream interest was the success of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game franchise. The fast-paced gameplay, iconic soundtracks, and exaggerated trick mechanics are literally some of my earliest childhood memories. But the franchise was never designed to simulate skateboarding with realism. It leaned into an arcade-style gameplay where players could chain impossible combos, perform gravity-defying tricks.
That's why that game never like really grasped to me that much. You know? That's why Skate always been that #1 game, skate game for me. Cause this one, I don't know, it was not it. For me.
And grind on power lines. Each game was over the top and undeniably addicting. The first game sold over 350,000 units in just the first 2 months in North America, shipping a staggering 3 million copies worldwide by spring of 2000. Pro Skater 2 proved how dominant the game was when it broke the world record for the best-selling extreme sports video game in history, which sold over 2 million in—
What the fuck? What the fuck? Why am I getting ads? Why the fuck am I getting ads? Hold on 1 second. What the fuck am I getting asked for? I have. Okay. Whatever. My bad, y'all. So sorry, y'all. Let's get into it. I was like, what the fuck?
In the USA alone. As if that wasn't insane, it was beat out the very next year by Pro Skater 3, which is still the best-selling game of the series, selling over 7 million copies across all consoles to date. But things started to change when MTV became interested in skateboarding. They understood it wasn't just about acrobatic tricks, but the lifestyle and the culture behind it. They were crucial in introducing the rebellious nature of skateboarding to the mainstream. Ironically, it started with Jackass, which was a show about ridiculous stunts, pranks, wrecking your body, and laughing through the pain. But it was performed by mostly skateboarders and originally intended to just be funny cutaway scenes in between gnarly skate tricks. From there, MTV greenlit shows like Viva La Bam and Robin Big, who initially represented that skating counterculture. Bam transformed his house into what looked like a Tony Hawk video game map, and Rob would skate the streets with his bodyguard Big Black, whose job was to prevent other security guards from stopping Rob's sessions. Skateboarding had such a tight grip on the culture that MTV launched a show called Scarred, which didn't show insane tricks, but rather the exact opposite. Brutal bails, broken bones, and stunts that almost always ended in a trip to the hospital. Although the average person watched these MTV shows for the entertainment and chaos, it spoke to real skaters and aspiring skaters on a deeper level. Sure, the mega ramp is sick, but so is a backlip down a 10 stair, so is a blunt slide into the bank, or sometimes just a flowy driveway session rips harder than massive stunts. As these shows got more popular, street skating and the culture surrounding it became more interesting and entertaining than professional skating. And while the Tony Hawk franchise tried to capitalize on this movement aesthetically with games like Underground and American Wasteland, they had the same unrealistic, gravity-defying combos, but with a new texture. Then in 2007, EA Skate was announced, a game that promised it would not only look like realistic skating, but it would feel like realistic skating.
And that's where we started. How do we capture the experience of skateboarding? All the physical feel, the feeling of actually cracking an ollie, the feeling of doing those tricks and getting that sense of mastery. As fans of the Tony Hawk series, it was time to really bring the feeling of skateboarding out.
The first trailer they released embodies just how different this game was going to be.
Damn, these graphics. These graphics are not it, Chief. Golly.
You didn't need to grind on power lines above a city. Just bombing a hill or hitting an 8-stair was exciting enough. It was about hearing the realistic sound effects of the wheels sliding on the concrete. It was about feeling the freedom of cruising in an open world. From the beginning, EA marketed Skate as a real skater's game, saying just like your real first time on the board feels a bit awkward at first, but with some practice, it opens up the more you play it. What made these trailers even more impactful was that they were being posted across YouTube at a time when most game studios were still relying on magazines or TV commercials. Blackbox, the game's developers, leaned into the internet's growing skate community to spread the word. I have vivid memories of searching EA Skate updates on YouTube in 2007, and every day after school watching the same few videos over and over again, just dying to play this game. Yikes. I was devastated to find out that they announced it would be exclusively released on next-generation consoles, which at the time was the Xbox 360 and PS3, and at that time I only had a PlayStation 2. So this was the first time that a game would be literally unavailable to me. And as much as it sucked, it kind of gave it this aura, like it was a new chapter for gaming. And it took months and months of begging, but ultimately I was able to convince my parents to buy me an Xbox 360 as well as Skate for Christmas in 2007. I still remember buying the console at Walmart, setting it up in my dad's living room, and sitting on the floor and staying up all night to play the game. Not to exaggerate, but it kind of changed my life. EA Skate actually introduced you and included real street skaters into the fabric of the story. You had P-Rod, Chris Cole, John Ratray, PJ Ladd, of course Rob Dyrdek and Big Black. They even threw in real footage of real skaters and some cutscenes to remind you just how rad these dudes actually were. But easily the most exciting new feature that Skate was introducing was their Flick It technology, which totally dismantled the button mashing style of the Tony Hawk series.
When you're playing the game, your left stick Imagine
Why
bringing
am I
your
keep
side
getting
project to
ads,
life
bruh?
just by thinking about it. Meet
I'm sorry,
Base
yo.
44.
Like, bruh, come on now. But, bro, when I first started playing Skate, I did not know how the fuck to do a kickflip to save my damn life. Oh my god. But it took me, as that nigga just said, bro, with great practice, bro. It seems kind of awkward, but after the hang of it, bro, I was kickflipping off the cars, nigga. Like, I was like a transformer with skates.
That's your body. So you're steering left and right, pulling it back to get into power slides. Push forward, your guy will crouch. And then your right stick, that controls your board. So I'm going to pull back, crouch for a little bit to get ready for a big ollie, and then flick it forward. That's why it's called flick it, because you do flick the stick forward. It's that simple. And off to the side, in our game, that'll give you a kickflip. So you actually get something out of whatever you do with the stick, including swinging it around to the side. And so crouching and then throwing it forward, however much force you put into it, that's what your ollie is. And you can also push forward and pop off the front to get nollies, and a whole combination of gestures to get all the different flip tricks that are out there.
Skate also introduced small details that felt realistic.
Yes.
You couldn't just land tricks from any height. If the gap was too high, it was impossible to land. You'd fall no matter how many times you tried if you didn't know the glitch. If you were going too fast, your board would wobble. It would be a lot harder to power slide if you were going too fast. You couldn't grind infinitely. You'd lose speed on rails and curbs if you didn't have enough momentum going into the trick. You could pump your body on vert ramps to gain speed just like a rail transition skater, not needing to push your board in between ramps. It was clear that the black box developers had consulted real skateboarders to depict the physics as accurately as possible while still giving it a video game feel. And even though they included the X Games and Mega Park where you could hit a mega ramp and get some big air, it kinda still felt limited to something Danny Way could do in real life. The map felt like a regular city that happened to have some sick skate spots. You had clean corporate plazas, dark and dirty alleyways, brand new skate parks, and decrepit old skate parks. A perfect mix to fit whatever vibe you were feeling that day. They also added pedestrians to make it feel real and occupied. Although they added an extremely annoying feature where they would just kind of mill around wherever you were skating to get in the way. There were even banned locations where if you skated them, a security guard would chase you and try to knock you off your board, which created these tense moments where the pressure was on. And overall, they had this gritty aesthetic, with a vignette over the screen and a low camera angle to mimic a cameraman following you capturing your lines. But it wasn't just the controls, physics, and aesthetic that made Skate feel like real skateboarding, it was the challenges and career mode. Instead of cartoonish missions or collecting floating letters, Skate gave you the kind of goals that mirrored an actual skater's career. A photographer from Thrasher magazine would text you and challenge you to do a trick. He would snap a photo of you completing the trick and post it on the cover of their next magazine. You'd also be challenged to film lines for a fictional skate video, and you could also edit those video clips and upload them online for other players to see. Your videographer was essentially your right-hand man throughout the game, who was hyping you up whenever you landed something sick or holding you accountable if you were messing up. There were pool jams and tight bowls. They had intense downhill death races through city streets where dodging pedestrians and carving past cars felt like something straight out of a video. And last but certainly not least, you could play an actual game of Skate. For those who don't know, Skate is basically the same exact thing as horse and basketball. One person sets a trick, the other has to do the exact same trick, and if you don't, you get a letter. And the game ends when you spell out SKATE. The inclusion of the real-life version of Skate was a love letter to the culture. It felt like something skaters actually do because they do, and the developers knew that. As you completed missions, you would secure sponsorship deals with real skate brands like Lakai, Girl, and Plan B. You'd earn gear from those brands and ultimately build up your respect as a skater. And even if you weren't doing challenges, you were just casually skating around, you'd visualize and map out the trick line in your head and try to land it. You had to work for it, like a real skater did. And when you finally landed the trick, you felt accomplished. You weren't just mindlessly playing a game. Skate made you think like a skater. For anyone who grew up skateboarding or watching skateboard videos, the media's representation of it always felt off. But this game got it right. After its release, even EA was shocked with how well it sold. Within its first few weeks, Skate had sold hundreds of thousands of copies, outselling its direct competitor, Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, nearly
get
2
the
to 1.
fuck outta
Black
here,
Box
bitch
wasn't
ass
just trying
nigga.
to steal some market share from the Tony Hawk franchise. They were legitimately trying to create a new approach to all action sports video games. And while it wasn't a perfect game, what it did have was soul. And after it captured the hearts of fans around the world, they would absolutely shock their community with the upgrades made in the sequel, Skate 2. Skate 2 is considered by die-hard fans to be the best in the series. It took everything that worked in the first game and just pushed it a little further. The controls were just a little smoother, the animations were just a little more accurate, and the map was just a little bigger. But it didn't lose any of the things that made the first game so great. Well, besides the soundtrack. The second soundtrack is okay, it's good, it's solid, but the first...
What the fuck? Bruh.
Your donation to
I don't give a
CarsonStrong.org.
fuck about the donation to a Carson Strong, bro. I want to see Skate, bro. They messing up the Skate review. You giving me ads, YouTube. Like, come on. I paid money for a premium. Give me what I'm owed. I'm definitely not using ad block. Anyways, back to the video. Sorry, y'all. So sorry, y'all.
Smoother. The animations were just a little more accurate, and the map was just a little bigger. But it didn't lose any of the things that made the first game so great. Well, besides the soundtrack. The second soundtrack is okay, it's good, it's solid, but the first game was too legendary to beat. The city of San Vanalona had changed after a massive earthquake, giving the map a more gritty, weathered feel. The wear and tear on your character was much more noticeable, being dirty, bloody, and bruised after skating and falling for hours. The introduction of the spillway was incredible.
Ooh,
we would spend hours ripping through this thing at dangerous speeds. One of the most celebrated features in Skate 2 was the ability to get off your board and move objects around. I can't tell you how many times I played Skate 1 and just thought, man, if I could just get off my board and walk up these stairs. This was an absolute game changer. You could now drag ramps, benches, rails, and pads into position to build your own lines or reconfigure iconic spots.
Oh, that's hard.
It gave players more freedom and creativity than before, and it also helped the game last longer. If you got bored, you could start building your own spots. The career mode remained basically the same: magazine cover shoots, filming sick lines with real skaters like Eric Costin, Terry Kennedy, Jerry Hsu, but they also introduced the legendary Hall of Me, which was a hilarious and brutal challenge mode that rewarded players for intentionally wiping out in the most painful way possible. The online mode in Skate 2 was also a massive step forward. While the first game had limited multiplayer functionality, Skate 2 fully embraced the online skating community. Players could now join free skate lobbies with up to 6 people, where they could explore the city together, hit spots, and session lines just like real life. Now you could share your skating experience, vibing and cruising through the city with friends across the world. But this was still 2008 and 2009, where most people were still not used to or just overly expecting an online gameplay element. The vast majority of skate players' preference was to still play alone or taking turns on the controller with friends in real life. And I really want you all to just look at, digest, remember, and feel this Skate 2 aesthetic, because after looking at all of these Skate 2 clips, the new game just looks like an absolute joke. The Skate franchise was now the standard for what a skateboarding video game should be like, and that was partially why the Tony Hawk series was starting to fall off. Skate 2 was an amazing sequel to an already amazing game, and it received strong reviews across nearly every major gaming publication. Skate 2 is technically an improvement over the first title, and anyone who hadn't yet played the original should skip it and go right to the second. It's a really fun game that allows you to play it the way you want with a control scheme that is second to none at the moment. Unfortunately, Skate 2 did not have as strong sales numbers. It didn't have as explosive numbers as the first edition. They were still okay, but they needed to make some big changes if they wanted to see financial success with Skate 3, even if it meant slightly abandoning their initial promise. If Tony Hawk Pro Skater represents totally unrealistic arcade-style skating, and Skate 1 represents more of a simulated reality, Skate 2 would be dead in the middle, and Skate 3 would be closer to Tony Hawk's arcade style.
What?
Skate 3 kinda did the opposite of what made it a breakout game in the first place, and leaned further into a more arcade-style gameplay. Firstly, the aesthetic felt a lot more cartoony. Everything was a little rounder, a little softer. Your character would get dirty and bloody from falling, but it was nowhere near the grit and ruggedness of Skate 2. The new city, Port Carverton, was a stark contrast to the destroyed San Vanalona. It was cleaner, brighter, less textured, more open, and most importantly, it felt perfect. In fact, the entire lore of the city changed. In Skate 2, skating was outlawed. In Skate 3, it was encouraged. Cops were gone, security was gone, and you were now skating in a world built for you. There's even a very believable conspiracy theory that you are actually dead in Skate 3, because in the beginning of the story mode, your character has a huge bail from possibly 50 or 60 feet in the air, one that any real human could not survive. But then you wake up and the rest of the game is you in heaven in the ultimate skateboard utopia. In Skate 3, the difficulty of the game dropped significantly. You could land impossible tricks way too easily, the board physics were more forgiving, and the raw tension that made the first two games so rewarding just wasn't there anymore.
Another ad, bro. Here we
Love
go again.
games, but hate the grind?
Bro, I
With
do not
Wiimon.
care, bro. I do not care, bro. But the thing is, Skate 3 is my favorite one because it's the one I grew up with. Like, I started out with Skate 3, and then I went back and played the other ones. And because, like, alright, all of them together, my favorite is the second one, you know, of course. But the third one just have a place in my heart. And this map has a big part of it, too. It's a big part of a reason why, too. It's, like, really close. But I get what he's saying, why it's, like, so animated and shit. And, like, I feel like for me, because I was young, and he said, like, the tricks was so easier to hit back then. Like, you know, I loved it because I was so young. I could just, you know, fidget around, pause with it, like, all the time. But, yeah. So it was much more easier for
Riding
me.
a small 8-stair in this game
No.
was not nearly as immersive or fun. The best way to play this game was to go to the Super Ultra Mega Park or the new Spillway and send massive unrealistic tricks. The Industrial Zone was my personal favorite. The unique quarry was perfect for high speeds and big flowy sections, and this rusty old ship port was the closest thing to the gritty feel of the previous games. Now they did introduce different difficulties. You had easy, normal, and hardcore, but I always felt that hardcore mode didn't make the game look and feel more realistic, it just made everything harder to do for the sake of making it harder. It felt like EA was trying to widen the appeal for Skate 3, making it more fun for casual players that enjoyed the Tony Hawk style games, which is why challenges like Hall of Meat significantly ramped up. Now you could get to much higher locations and the falls were much more brutal. You would get a score based on how many bones you broke, how far you fell, and how much damage you took, and they included these sort of emotes that allowed for more unique falls. Also, highlighting exactly what bones you broke in red was a really nice touch. Even though this was the furthest thing from realistic, everyone agrees Hall of Meat was a hilarious aspect that made that game addicting. And even though Skate 3 was now the furthest thing from realistic, it still had the spirit of skate culture. Once again, real skaters, and everyone's new favorite fictional character, Coach Frank, who was your chaotic and silly skate coach teaching you how to live up to your full potential. The story mode was about building a skate brand. You started as an underground skater with one goal: sell 1 million boards. That premise alone is a perfect metaphor that skateboarding often starts as an independent pursuit, but slowly transforms into something more corporate. You built a team, picked real sponsors, and grew your squad from local to mainstream. And even though Skate 2 is for more of the purists, I loved Skate 3, and even with the arcade-style gameplay, it still had enough respect and inclusion of real skate culture to be the perfect successor of the series. And this was during the era when YouTube was starting to become the center of gaming culture. Blackbox saw this and capitalized hard. They implemented a new Skate Reel replay video editor, which was basically perfect. You could do all these different camera angles, edit them with music and effects, and then just upload them straight to EA servers or share them online. They also added an object dropper functionality so you could spawn ramps, rails, and props mid-session, basically making the entire map customizable. YouTubers like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye started posting Skate 3 content and gaining millions of views. Skate 3 performed better commercially than Skate 2, selling over 2.6 million copies and became the highest selling game in the franchise, thanks in part to its growing online community. And after Skate 3, the fanbase was desperately awaiting the announcement of Skate 4. Every E3, every EA Play event, Skate fans tuned in hoping for even a mention, but got nothing. 2011, 2012, 2013 went by, and EA didn't even deny Skate 4, they just remained silent. But little did we know, Electronic Arts was making some drastic business changes behind the scenes. In 2012, they announced that EA in Vancouver is transforming its studio to align with EA's transformation to high-growth digital formats, including online, social gaming, and free-to-play. Although Skate 3 sold an okay amount of copies, it was mere pennies compared to their FIFA series. For example, FIFA 12, which released in the same year Skate 3 peaked in popularity, sold over 8 million copies in just 4 weeks. But more importantly, FIFA had Ultimate Team and in-game purchases. In fact, by 2015, EA was earning over 1.3 billion.
Bruh! I'm tired of this, bruh. I'm tired of this. This video gonna be so damn long because these damn ads. Why do YouTube... They making a mockery of my name right now. They're literally making a mockery of me. But I feel like the people that made Skate could have at least
$1 billion per year from Ultimate Team.
The company to like another, like fans, cause like how game creators be giving their companies to fans to continue their legacy and shit. Like, bruh, they should have just did that shit.
In microtransactions alone across FIFA, Madden, and NHL. Everything EA touched started to feel like it was solely designed for cash instead of adding new value to their respective games' communities. Simply put, Skate just did not fit into EA's new business model. They had a massive round of layoffs in 2013. They closed PopCap Vancouver and Quicklime Games, a studio comprised of former EA Black Box employees that developed Skate. However, what EA didn't realize at the time was that Skate 3 was far from dead. In fact, over the next decade, it would become more popular than ever, largely thanks to YouTubers like ZexyZek, who essentially rebranded Skate 3 from a kinda sorta realistic skateboarding simulator into a straight-up sandbox playground for ragdoll physics, massive jumps, and pushing the limits of the game that the developers couldn't have even imagined. Even non-Skate fans were watching these videos because it sorta Mr. Beastified the game. I would watch these videos because they accomplished things that firstly I could never even imagine, and even if I could, they were so over the top that I would never spend the time or effort trying to do them while playing the game myself. However, in 2014, nearly 4 years after its release, Skate 3 was reprinted and restocked due to its popularity on YouTube. By 2016, it had sold more copies post-launch than it did in its first year. And because of this, rumors persisted that EA would make Skate 4. I mean, clearly the demand was there, right? But they finally confirmed 7 years later in 2017 that they were not actively developing Skate 4. So the fandom gave up and they just appreciated the trilogy for what it was. But then independent studios started investing in the action sports genre. Games like Pipe and Skater XL popped up on Steam, providing a simple, realistic action sports simulator. Skater XL actually challenged the original Skate's realism, where now you had to use both joysticks to control the board. This game was much harder to learn, but much more realistic. And suddenly, there was a resurgence in demand. And in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, in a time where misery persisted online, nobody believed what they heard at this EA Play event.
The moment is here. We finally get to say,
we're back, we're doing it, Skate's happening, we're rolling. We've secretly got together, it's the beginning, the Skate evolution continues.
We've been waiting years, honestly, to make the right game at the right time.
He don't even seem so excited. Like, these seem like the most fakest. Oh my god, we're back! Like, bruh, I knew this was gonna be down here from Like, I knew it was all about the cha-ching from here, bro. Come on now.
With the right idea, and really, really pleased to say that we're here. It is really early.
Still, we've got a long way to go, but we're stoked, and this is just the beginning.
And seriously, we really can't wait to bring you guys in and have you be a part of it with us.
We want to thank you for your passion, your patience, and all the support that you've shown, us to get to this point.
Oh, the comments.
It's amazing. We cannot believe you commented this into existence.
Jesus
Amazing.
Christ,
Skate
man.
changed my life. Thank you so much. Skate forever.
There was no gameplay shown, but that didn't matter. For the community, it was the realization that after 10 years, the Skate franchise was finally back. And even more exciting, Cuz Perry, the lead creative developer of the first 3 games, was also returning to produce Skate 4. His involvement gave fans hope that this game would hit just as hard as the trilogy. The news was almost unbelievable, especially considering there were no updates for a full year after the initial announcement, until an official Skate YouTube channel uploaded a video titled "We're Working on It."
Truth is, it's early. We're still working on it.
You're joking. Has anyone seen gameplay?
Well, a couple people have seen it.
What people?
Sick.
It's about time.
They've seen it?
It just looks beautiful. This whole
Playing
open
online
world.
sessions like that
Picking up the
would be
board
so
and looking
funny.
back.
Reminds me of Skate 2.
Oh, cool. You're listening to the fans.
And those 2 sound bites in there were key. A guy saying, "It reminds me of Skate 2," and "Cool, you're listening to the fans." We didn't know it yet, but those were so far from the truth.
Yeah.
After another long year with no update, a video called "Still Working on It" dropped that featured the first official gameplay, proving that this thing was real. In the bottom corner, they reminded everyone that this was pre-alpha, which explains the absence of textures and buildings. And again, in this video, they were reminding everyone that they are creating what the fans wanted.
What you told us and started building.
With a community as passionate as Skate's, it seemed like a no-brainer for the developers to treat their core fans as a massive free survey pool to help guide them in building the best game possible. And I can't express enough that they made it clear that transparency was at the forefront of this game's development. Skate released a show on their YouTube called The Boardroom, a developer sit-down where they discussed the game's progress and directly addressed community feedback. The series ran for 5 episodes, alongside other content the team was regularly putting out. They read comments and provided answers to the community. It was this type of communication with fans that is almost never seen in the development of other games.
Yeah.
We wanted to remove as many barriers to entry as possible so that everyone can play together on day one, regardless of price or platform. So that's why the next Skate game would be a free-to-play title available to gamers around the world.
However, little by little, as fans got more information from the developers, the more skeptical they became. I think everyone trusts Full Circle, but nobody trusts EA. Free-to-play is kinda scary. We need a story mode for this game. Makes me nervous they only mentioned multiplayer. It was also in this video that they made a very important distinction. This game is not the 4th edition of the franchise.
Okay, throw the bottles and everything at me now. No, it's not Skate 4. And here's the reason. This isn't a sequel. It's not a remake. It's not a reboot, a prequel. It's not any of that. It's not a remake, a remaster, whatever Re can do. This is it. It's Skate. We're in it for the long haul. That means we're not an iterative title. There won't be a Skate 5 through 10. We won't be pumping them out all the time. We're going to do this. We're going to listen to what you guys say over the course of time and put the features that you guys want into it.
Basically, they are saying this is an entirely new game, not a continuation of the original franchise. While that might be true from a developmental standpoint, it also kind of felt like a slimy strategic move. By avoiding the Skate 4 label, they gave themselves more cushion against backlash. If the game didn't live up to expectations, they could always fall back on, well, this was never meant to be Skate 4, because it was evident that they were capitalizing on the fandom of the original, using similar branding, a similar map, similar playstyle, comparing to previous games, but ultimately dismissing anyone who says this was Skate 4.
For the love of God, just call the game Skate 4, not Skate, for the second time.
No, sorry, the game is just Skate, it's not Skate 4.
Yep. Please tell me Skate 4 is coming to PS4. Skate 4 is not.
Skate 4 is not coming to PS4, but Skate will be.
In 2022, they released a bunch of updates and playtest videos. You could feel the game getting closer and closer to looking complete, but it wasn't necessarily matching with the core fans' vision. As the devs read more comments and responded to fans, it became extremely clear that they were cherry-picking non-critical or super niche comments to give the illusion of transparency while ignoring the major concerns from the players. Like how nearly all the top comments are about wanting an offline mode and story mode, which is never addressed, but in the video you get random pointless questions answered.
Do you guys even play the game? Who's better?
Like, what the fuck kind of questions are these,
Skate
bro?
has been officially announced to release in 2025, and EA has provided a number of YouTubers with sponsored early access to the playtest, and fans are extremely disappointed with what they see. Right off the bat, the most noticeable is the art style. Skate 3 was already cartoonish, but Skate has absolutely zero grit. Everything is clean, pristine, and sometimes ramps are just these bright, unnatural colors. It literally looks like Fortnite on skateboards. Now, that might not be a deal breaker if everything else felt authentic, but that's not the case. So far, we have no confirmation on whether or not there will be a story mode, which means no progression system. You just exist in a giant open world map with other players and just skate around doing challenges with no actual goal.
Time to rip. Use your skater eyes to visualize and utilize the grind potential here. And watch your speed. Getting into grinds requires control. Hit the spot fast enough to grind, but slow enough to lock it in.
Like, I know this nigga look bored already, bro. Look
Those
at
skater
him.
eyes are working.
I know he wanna go to bed, bro.
Bench grinding verified.
Getting sponsored, taking photos for magazines, filming video parts, that's all gone. The first question they ask the players during the playtest is, how interested would you say you are in skateboard culture? I find myself wondering what they will use this data to interpret. The hopeful side of me says that a lot of people will click, yes, I'm very interested, and then they will include some actual skate culture into the game, but the realist in me says most people will probably say that they're not interested, and they'll continue to make this children's game, because there is really no skateboard culture in this game at all. There are no professional skaters involved that gave Skate its connection to real skateboarding fans. There are no death races, another classic fan favorite mode. There's no custom parks, which is what let the community thrive for so long after Skate 3. But the biggest slap in the face is that you can't even play a game of Skate. How are you gonna have a video game called Skate and you can't even play the game that has been a foundational part of the culture for decades? Your cameraman is actually just the camera that's been Pixarified to be your cute little sidekick friend.
There it is. Your very own board. Your key to the city.
All of the skateboarding lingo has been removed. Whenever you complete a challenge, the narrator will say things like skater eyes deployed and bench grinding verified. It's all cute and quirky soft language so the kiddos can enjoy it while they rack up mom's credit card bill buying skins for their favorite skater. Which, by the way, if you want to buy a skate deck, a t-shirt, shoes, we're not talking about 50 cents or $1 a piece. These items cost $5 each. Basically, if you wanted to fully customize your skater head to toe and the skateboard, it'll cost you the same price as the entire Skate 3 game, which previously all customization was unlockable through the game's progression. Some other features that are absolutely detrimental are the always online mode. That means no more peaceful solo sessions, skating alone, just a vibe. You're forced into a server every single time you load up. If your internet connection is down, well, you can't play. It's extremely clear that this game was built for YouTube content creators and the kids who grew up watching them. The developers know that their young demographic holds Skate 3 as the crown jewel of the series, and the videos they watched growing up showed creators pushing the game to its absolute limits. Speed glitches, massive unnatural gaps, and Mr. Beast-like challenges. This new game was built entirely around that appeal because, well, they probably don't care about skate culture. Ironically, the YouTubers who want more high-flying stunts for content are going to have to film their videos surrounded by 100 other online players getting in their way. Each of the 3 games in the series start off with you completing a simple ollie, kickflip, or small stair set, similar to how any other real skater would start their journey. The first thing they make you do in this game is parkour scale the side of a building and then jump a massive mega ramp. The only people defending this game are children who grew up in this free-to-play model. The ones who don't remember a time when you could play a video game and not be constantly asked to buy more shit. Stayintent. This game is for the kids who thought skating as a piece of raw meat in Skate 3 was the coolest part of the game. And I know I'm coming across as harsh, but I'm not blaming them. They don't know any different. But when they play this game for 3 to 4 months and get bored and wonder why a game that had 15 years of hype died in a few months, rewatch this video and you'll see why. Then again, if you do just change your mindset a little bit and just accept that this isn't a true Skate successor and it's more of a acrobatic parkour game with a little bit of skateboard mixed in, I can even live with that. And it actually looks like it could be pretty fun for a bit, almost like a mobile game you play for an hour every once in a while. But the free-to-play model is something that literally every video game fan should be against. We have been purchasing video games for decades. We all understand that a company needs to make money, but buying something should mean that you own it. And if it's free, you don't own the game. Once they decide to shut down the game's servers, you will never be able to play it again. Plus, I find it telling that even though this game is in its beta release, the only thing that is fully functional is the microtransaction store. In case I haven't been explicitly clear, this game is not a love letter to the Skate franchise or skate culture. This is a massive corporation using the die-hard skate fan base as a vehicle to sell digital cosmetics. The free-to-play model unfortunately has taken over gaming. It sounds good on the surface, but it mostly just ends with studios releasing incomplete games or good enough games, because in order to justify a $40, $50, $60, or $70 purchase price like they used to, they would have to actually make a game with depth. Making AAA games is insanely expensive. When a studio charges a one-time entry fee, there's a cap on how much money they can realistically make. Even if the game sells millions of copies, that fixed price can only earn so much money. But if they release the game as free to play, they won't make money up front, but way more people will try the game out, and they've essentially opened the doors to an uncapped year-over-year revenue stream by people buying it in their shitty little shitty fucking store. And this approach isn't just limited to electronic arts. Studies show that more than 50% of revenue for many major game publishers now comes from microtransactions. Games like Asphalt 9 have transformed into entirely ad-fueled casinos, where progress is deliberately slowed to nudge players towards spending real money. Even worse, the microtransaction model discourages innovation. Instead of building great games from the ground up that will last a lifetime, publishers focus on maximizing engagement, extracting more time and money from players through cosmetic items and pay-to-win features. You don't need to sell a complete game anymore, you just need to keep players hooked long enough to open their wallets. So for Skate, yeah, they might add real skaters in there, but you have to purchase them as a skin. There might be sick new maps that mimic realistic skate spots for purchase. I wouldn't be surprised if they made in-game challenges or competitions that you have to buy into or wager just to play in hopes of winning more whatever dumb currency they have. And you might think that you have the willpower to avoid these transactions, but statistically speaking, most people will ultimately cave and make a purchase. 82% of gamers made at least one microtransaction purchase in 2023. If you've spent dozens of hours playing a game, mastering its mechanics, and progressing through its challenges, then the developers are counting on you being more willing to part with a few dollars here or there to enhance the experience. This could mean buying a fancy outfit for your character, paying to unlock a new arena, or even purchasing in-game currency to just speed up the progress. The sunk cost fallacy can kick in here. You've already invested so much time, it seems foolish not to spend a little more to get the most out of your time investment. The only problem is, you aren't actually buying something of real value, and you also don't actually own it. Skate is not here to honor skateboarding, it's here to monetize it. Skate is not being revived because EA cares about skateboarding culture. It's being revived because they know you'll pay $5 to put a Santa hat on your skater. And when you get bored after playing it for a few months and you're wondering why you feel no desire to pick up the controller and get back on, you'll finally understand why people played Skate 1, 2, and 3 for over a decade. Because these games had soul, and they were made to resemble and honor a culture that has been around for decades and will last for decades to come. This isn't the future of gaming, it's the funeral. And as a grown man, I don't have time to be mad, I'm just disappointed.
W. Patrick, bro. W. Patrick. We gotta do better. For real. I remember the times when I was little going to GameStop and buying me a game that I own for myself that I could play for hours, that I work towards, and missions that I don't have to buy currency on, so I can speed up shit for it. Like, I can really do the missions and get the money earned to me, bro. We're never getting that back. And I feel like the only game that would do that is GTA 6, bro. But W Patrick CC, bro. Always coming with a W video every